What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 264 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR. I have my co-host with me, Alex.
Hello.
Hey, man.
Hi.
You know, joining us this week over the Skype machine is our pal, comic creator, and really new best friend, is Todd Dezago.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
I'm here.
We did it. We made the connection. We are on our way.
It's all good.
So, in the past, we've had Craig Rousseau on. We've talked about the Parappanauts. And we actually got to him through our other good friend, Rich Woodall. And that was around the time of the Kickstarter for Into Hollow Earth. And to be honest, it's almost feels unfortunate, but we might not really get to Parappanauts today because I have so many questions about your Telos tribute with Mike Wernio. Did I pronounce that right?
No, but it's Waringo.
Waringo. Okay.
Again, I was telling you earlier before we got on that his father and we're all very close now, and he'll tease me about my name, but I've never teased them about their name. I guess I should go back and hit him with that.
Yep, it's probably for the best. So, what is what are you talking about? What's happening here with this Telos? What is this? What's going on here?
We are just to give anybody who might not know a little bit about Mike Waringo. Mike started working in comics back in the early 90s and on The Flash with Mark Waid, and he was dynamic and came right out of the gate, and everybody loved him. That he was a very nice, kind, generous person, didn't hurt things. In 1996, he and I were teamed up on Sensational Spider-Man, and we ran for 3.5 years together on that, and in the process became really good friends. We had dreams of the same kind of comics and telling the same kinds of stories. And in 1999, we went to Image with our pitch for a high-adventure fantasy called Telos, which has talking animals and magic and good versus evil and hopefully a lot of fun. It ran for 10 issues. The industry was going through some ups and downs, and we weren't really able to sustain it, but not a lot of people were able to sustain their comics very much back then either.
Mm-hmm.
There was a major drop-off in sales all across the board. So we did 10 issues, and people seemed to like it. And over the years, there was more and more people asking me, will there be more? Asking us. Sadly, I've been referring to Mike in the past tense. Mike died suddenly in 2007 of a heart. Oh, Matt, his brother Matt knows the term for it. A valve bisection or something. Anyway, basically his heart just stopped, and he passed away. And so, anytime anybody would ask me after that, would I do more Telos? The answer was always no. How could it be Telos without Mike?
Right.
And then over the years, I did have stories. Mike and I had dreamt about a couple different directions that we would take the next storyline. And I started thinking, well, what if I got all our friends? Mike, of course, made tons of friends in the industry and had a lot of fans who are now in the industry. What if I tapped them each to do 3, 4, 5 pages each of a big 250-page story that I wrote to do one big graphic novel and honor Mike and donate all the money to the ASPCA, because Mike and I were both just huge animal fans, love animals and everything about them. We donated money from Telos to the ASPCA before. And everybody got on board, and then too many people got on board, and it just grew and grew and grew. And I let the story expand and go up in a couple different directions that hopefully will be okay. But now we're at 500 pages. It's in 2 different volumes. We are selling them direct online You will not be able to get these in stores. You can only get them by going to the Mike Wieringo Tellus Tribute website. And it's spelled just like that. Mike Wieringo, Wieringo, Tellus, Tellos, tribute.com. There you can find out all about it and order the books. We are having them printed and distributed ourselves so that all of the money can go to the ASPCA, and we won't have to pay publishers and distributors and things like that. So we're doing pretty well. The cutoff date for ordering is this coming Monday. I don't know when you plan on running the show, but April 10th is the cutoff. So if anybody hears this, get in there and get your order in.
We'll make sure we push it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll get this up. What's today? Today's Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday.
At least by Friday. Probably up tomorrow.
Great. Well, everybody who's listening before the 10th, if you're interested, it really is a great story. I've gotten back some incredible artwork. We've had pencilers, inkers, letterers, and colorists all come out of the woodwork just to help out people who knew Mike, people who have wonderful, warm stories about Mike, people who are fans. Mike would go to conventions. We would go together to different conventions, and with Craig also. I think we were looked at as the Three Musketeers for a long time. And we go around to Indie Alley, and where people were doing small press and their own comics. And we've all been there. We've all done our own comics. So Mike and Craig and I believe that, give these people as much support and enthusiasm and encouragement as you can, because we love reading stories. Why not encourage the next generation of storytellers to keep things going and make it happen? So anyway, that's kind of the story behind this. As I said, it got really big, but all the money will be donated to the ASPCA, and the list of people who are involved is on the website, and it's massive.
So before we get to everyone else involved, I just want to put out, I'm not familiar with Mike or his work. I didn't get into the convention scene or into many other comic books at the time, until after he passed. But the frequency at which we go to Boston Comic Con, and when I've been able to make it to the art auction that they have, the charity art auction, one of the years, I believe Bob Shaw runs it every year, but there was one year where Bob was saved one special original page. I believe it was Spider-Man, until the end of the show, and he's like, the Wieringo family released this one page original art that we'll have up, and he's saying the name, and we have a page that you could bid on, and a hush went over the room with a gasp. Here and there, and because oftentimes also part of the charity is usually to I believe there's a scholarship fund.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike's brother Matt, who is also now my best friend, and his wife Suzanne. After Mike's death, they put together the Mike Wieringo Scholarship at SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design. Is that right?
Okay.
And they've been doing it for years, and they've had lots of really talented students receive the scholarship and go on to become comic book artists themselves. Eric Donovan, Nikki So, there's a bunch of others, so they've been running the scholarship for years and raising a lot of money in Mike's name to encourage young artists to come up and do things.
So even from that, I'm just hearing the people around me reacting to to who Mike was as a person, and how good his art was and everything. I'm this guy is important, and I kind of feel bad I don't know more about him.
He worked on. I'll give you a really quick rundown of his credits. He worked on Flash for a while, and I'm guessing it was 92, 93, and around there with Mark Waid, when Mark was really making changes and invented the Speed Force and Impulse. They were the co-creators of Impulse. He went on and drew a bunch of issues of Robin. He then came over and we did Spider-Man for 3.5 years. He did Superman for a few years. He did, and then he and Mark Waid got together again and did the Fantastic Four for a couple of years. So he's done some of the big names, the big flagships in the industry, and of course Tellus. Marvel, I think it's next month. Marvel is putting out all of our Sensational Spider-Mans in one big book. I don't know if it's considered an omnibus. I think it's only 25 issues, something like that. But it's big, and they're putting it out to honor Mike. This is the 10th year of his death.
Well, that's cool of them. That's nice.
Yeah.
So when this book, the tribute, was getting announced, it's one of those feelings where I feel like I was kind of doing something right, because the people that I follow on Instagram, I'm seeing like so many of them posting about it and that they're involved. I'm like, so I follow Rich, and he said he had a part in it, and then Ray Anthony Height has a part in it. We've been trying to connect with Chris Campana. I was like, oh, he's in it. And then I see I just said his name earlier, and now I blanked on it. Calafiore.
Right.
Calafiore's in there. It's like, we love Calafiore. And there's just so many names of people that like I'm actually familiar with who, are a part of this. And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm following the right people.
Well, I hope so. I can tell you that all of those people that you named turned in some spectacular pages. Their artwork is just, everybody brought their A game. Everybody came into this and said, this is going to be an opportunity to be, to kind of honor Mike and do something really nice. And I've got there's a page that Jim Calafiore did that I said, don't preview that. Don't show anybody. Obviously in a comic book, there's pages that are going to show you a twist or a turn in the story.
Uh-huh.
And I've been so happy that the artists that I've asked to hold back showing their stuff, they've all been very nice and honored that as well.
I believe you had one of Calafiore's pages as your banner pick when I was reviewing your page to contact you originally.
I had two. Yeah, I had two long horizontal panels that are up there that are they're just awesome. They're just great.
But it's one of those things where I could recognize the art and go, oh, that's a Calafiore. Like I spot that art. I know who that is. But like, there's so many names. You can. There's a section of the website you mentioned before called Secret Friends of Ringo. Are these all of the people listed here? Have they worked on the book?
The Secret Friends, yeah, they have. There's tons more who just haven't gotten either pictures yet, or they haven't sent in their bios. There's lots of people that aren't even pictured. But if you scroll down that, to me, the thing that's really impressive is everybody's wearing the same T-shirt.
I was literally just noticing that. I'm scrolling
we're all in this secret club that we've kept secret for 3 years. Nobody talked about this for 3 years. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. It's kind of frustrating because I wish I would have known about it sooner. But
no, because then you'd be frustrated it was taking so long. That was part of my my big plan was let's keep it secret because these days everybody wants everything right now.
Right.
If they read an article about something online, there better be a buy it now button at the bottom of it, because that's how impatient people are anymore. They can't wait, or they'll get frustrated in the time between hearing about it and when they can finally get it. They get angry. I've seen it. It's crazy.
Or they'll start making predictions and and being skeptical of things. Like, look, it's a guy in a mocap suit fighting Captain America and backstage somewhere. And then everyone has to they have to figure out what that is and who's in a mocap suit. It's like, well, how about you just wait and watch the movie?
No, that's too it's frustrating. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. But yeah, that's exactly it. So I asked everybody to keep it under their hat, and they did. And when we announced it, it was a big surprise. And everybody's picture was on there. My web designer is this wonderful girl that I've known all her life anyway, woman, and she did an amazing job designing the website. But as she added all the people, she said, just clicking on this page, it's really impressive that everyone was part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. Every single one of those people on there, just, I said it before, they brought their A game. They really put everything they could into it. And with enthusiasm and with real style.
So, I guess I'll call it a technical aspect, getting so many people to work on the same project, either figuring out like what pages of script to give them or what they would do. Were there any instructions on their art style? Like, were they supposed to draw like Mike, or could they just do their own style? And would that affect how the story was told? Well,
I think that when you see this book, there are some people that are going to say, oh, it's so uneven or erratic, or it might be jarring to people. If you've read any Jam books before where there have been different artists every few pages, you do have to keep going back to the credits to see who did what and who did this. And we've got a fix for that. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the tough part about it is that I went in and I said, look, no, I don't want you to draw like Mike. I want you to draw like you.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see, Mike and I always used to dream about how cool it would be to see our heroes drawing our characters. You know, these are our kids. These are our family. And so having Paul Smith draw them, or Jim Calafiore, and Craig, of course. Craig had drawn them before in a side story that he and I had done. You know, all these different people, Brett Blevins and June Brigham and and just across the board, there were so many people who came in and did this. And that was what Mike and I had always dreamed about. Wow, look at how this looks with Jack Lawrence drawing it, or with, put, you know, whatever name here. It's all exciting. It's all interesting. There's a couple of very avant-garde artists involved in this. There's a couple of comic strip artists involved. There's some real heavy illustrators involved. So it's going to be a very eclectic piece of artwork that you're going to be holding as well. And as you go through, I think I keep calling it, it's a celebration of style and a celebration of artwork. Because everybody came in and brought their passion of telling stories to every page. It really looks great. The fix I was talking about was, I get frustrated when I'm reading something and I have to keep flipping back to the front to see who drew what.
Yeah.
We're going to be putting up on the website a PDF that you're going to be able to download that has everybody's name, and you can use that as a bookmark if you need, so that as you're going through the book, you can have it on the side and just print it out, and you'll be able to follow and see who did the pencils, who did the inks, who did the lettering and the coloring for every chapter, every section. So that way, you're not, if you are one of those curious people and you're not so caught up in the story, hopefully you'll be caught up in the story. I'd like to hope I did my job right. But if you're one of those people who really likes to take a look at the artwork and get immersed in that as well, well, maybe your second read through it, you'll go through it with the table of credits, table of contents, and enjoy it.
That is a neat idea. That's, man.
Because the flipping, I can see where, like, because, like, you want to know, especially with that many artists on one book, you know, you're going to want to know like, you see one thing that you dig, who is this?
Yeah.
You know, instead of having to, like, you know, rifle back to the, like, the glossary, you know?
Right, exactly.
There was a like an anniversary issue of Daredevil where they had classic Daredevil artists each do like a half page, and sometimes like they wouldn't get the same notes, and it would be like Daredevil versus Kingpin, and then you would get to one page and like, well, Daredevil's costume isn't ripped in this one, and Kingpin isn't wearing the same outfit; he's wearing his classic outfit,
right?
And then it's like I don't know what's happening, and so I would go back and see, oh right, they're like going through the history of Daredevil artists in this spot.
Right.
But other times for other books, it's just like a scheduling thing. Like we need someone to fill in these 5 pages.
Well, that's what I needed here with a lot of the artists was I would need people to send me their layouts. If they were doing, let's say an artist said, okay, I'll come in and I'll do 4 pages. I would say, get me layouts as soon as you can so that I can give the next pages to the next artist with these layouts so they'll know where you are and what's going on. In some cases that worked out great, but in a lot of cases I don't want to say a lot, but in some cases I had artists who jumped in, and of course this is for charity, they're not being paid for it, they have jobs, they have family, they have other obligations, and so some people along the line had to say, I'm not going to be able to do this. So my problem sometimes was I'd get pages for the end of a scene before I get the beginning of a scene. So there are moments where you will see, and we are trying to go in and patch them all, but there are moments where you will see one of the characters hurts his arm early on in the story and has a bandage on his left arm.
Yeah.
So many people, even if I gave them the note, they would forget that bandage. Or we have, in the original story, we had these kind of ninja-looking lizards called shadow jumpers who could teleport from shadows to shadows. In this new story, I have these creatures called shadow troopers. I shouldn't use shadow as a prefix, I guess. But the shadow troopers are supposed to be big, hulking versions of these weird creatures. They're mindless warriors, slave warriors. They're relentless. They're like machines. And they're supposed to be going... But artists who remember tell us when I would say shadow troopers, and even if I give them reference, they would end up drawing the smaller, spindly, more agile, ninja-looking ones. And so there was a little bit of that going on that I even as much as I tried to police it, sometimes it just got away. So there are a couple inconsistencies, but I don't think they're noticeable at this point. I think we've fixed them up.
With the amount of people involved in this one book, I, as a fan personally, am willing to let some inconsistencies slide. Just scrolling through like the dozens of people who are all in it. It takes us weeks to organize me and my 4 friends to try and play Dungeons and Dragons. I can't even fathom trying to get this many people on one project and like divvying up the work and like this is what you're going to be doing, this is what you're going to be doing. Keep in mind this is inconsistencies. I'll give you a pass on this.
well, thanks. I will refer to the people who do complain. I will refer them to you.
Please
do.
They can come chat.
Well, like I was gonna also compare, like even like setting up this, this show. I try to book me and Jared's time and then find a guest. And there's days where like I'm getting towards a Thursday in a week and I haven't booked anyone yet, and I'm just pulling my hair out, and then I finally get out to do it again next week, and and that's what 50 people a year maybe.
Yeah, if that, like not counting just. Like where we don't even have a guest, or if it's just like a friend of ours, it's just, and like there's that many people like times 2 on this one project alone,
Right.
So it's super admirable. It's unbelievable how many people you were able to get together onto this book, and it's also it's very it's uplifting to see that this man was supported by so many people. So many people look up to him and they like are willing to work on this project. It's inspiring, to just put it bluntly, I guess.
It is. It really is. Part of me is moved by just some of the letters that I got from people, and of course I haven't met. I've been to a bunch of conventions, but I haven't met a lot of these people, and to have developed relationships with them over the phone, or usually through emails. some of them have really poured out their heart about what his artwork meant to them, what Tellus meant to them. I'm amazed. I think Mike and I were both a little surprised about what Tellus meant to some people over the years. The original series is still collected. We've got a trade that's still available, and if people are interested, you can go to your comic book store and ask them to get it. I think it's still available through Diamond. I have it available on my website, which is todddezago.com. I don't mean to sell it. I'm just saying.
Do it. Sell it, man.
It's okay.
No, I don't want to be a salesman, but if people are interested in these big books, to order these big books, and they haven't seen the original material that everybody is kind of working from, they should check it out, because Mike's artwork alone, with inks by Rob Stull and colors by Paul Mounts, who just knocked it out of the park with every issue. It's really a trade worth getting. It's a story worth passing on to people, because no one will ever say, "Oh, that you gave me junk for Christmas," or something like that.
Paul Mounts, if that name's familiar, it's because he worked on the Ultimates.
Yes. Yeah. He worked on lots of stuff.
He works on a lot of stuff with Amanda Calmer and Paul Miyagi too.
Yeah, he's been active for a long time and is one of the premier colorists, and we were lucky to get him on Tellus back in the day. So he's part of the original family, and he's colored the two covers, which are built up from sketches that Mike had done, and Rob Stull inked, and then Paul colored them. And he's also colored a whole bunch of pages inside, because he needed to be part of this too. Pages by Joe Staten, pages by Casey Jones. He's really good.
One of the fun things, I'm still looking through the page of all the artists. There's people who took their picture with their pets, because as you said, it's about loving animals. And then there's other ones, I believe, it looks like a lot of them have Mike's artwork either in the background or, like framed specifically. Be like, look, here's my Waringo stuff.
Sure, yep, exactly.
Which is super cool.
And Matt had sold a lot of that. Mike's brother Matt had sold a lot of that at the conventions for the Mike Waringo Scholarship. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, even after he's gone, his work is going to good cause. We're making sure that it's all going in the right direction. So that's important to us, and I'm sure he'd be very upset with all this attention everybody is giving him now. But tough. Now here to defend yourself, tough man. We immediately went into. Mike's sense of humor was huge too, and people who knew him well knew his laugh was just this big, unabashed laugh. He was great, and we would laugh constantly. And it was a few days after he passed away that we were down at his house with his brother and sister-in-law and his mom and dad, and Craig Rousseau had come down also. But at the service that we had, everybody just started telling jokes and kind of busting on him for leaving us, which is the dark humor that comes after you lose a friend. But it still happens now, and there are times when somebody will say something and we're just like, oh, Mike would have loved that.
Well, if you can't find humor in the dark things, then
that's right.
And what good is humor at all?
True.
I've already put in my order
for the record,
because one of the things that hits me is that with so many people working, on each book, that means there's a lot of autographs to get when you go to convention. So,
right.
It's one of the things we talk about on the show is how much we enjoy conventions, but also meeting the people that make the stuff that we like. And sometimes all you need is some kind of gateway to get in. And sometimes you can just walk up and be like, "Hey, man, your book's dope." And I'm like, what do I say after this?
Yep.
You just take it and walk away. But like, if you can find a lot of artists, they're also into what they do, so it's often pretty easy to strike up a conversation of some kind. And I feel like this would be a really easy way to have a good time talking to other people who are into what you're into.
One of the things that people were bringing up, they were saying, "Am I in book 1 or book 2? Where's my artwork going to be?" And we're having not really a premiere because we won't really be selling the books at the Charlotte show, Heroes Con in Charlotte in June. But we are having a big party there, and a lot of the artists will be there. And a lot of them were saying, "Well, what if I'm in book 2? I can't sign book 1." And Craig came up with this brilliant idea. Craig Rousseau came up with the brilliant idea of creating a card, a double-sized card that would be able to fold and go inside the book. Mm-hmm. We won't be selling them we won't be sending them out with the book, but we will have them at the table at the shows for people to take them. So that artists, really, you should be able to sign either book if you worked on the project. But in this case, people who are at the one show will have a card to sign that would be able to be included in the book and be part of that. So yeah, it is. I think that's going to be some people's goal, is to try to get every artist who worked on it signature in the book. That would be quite a feat. Some of them are, of course, out of the country. I have a bunch of people that were recruited for me by our friend Thierry Mornay, who lives over in Paris and runs Delcourt albums over there. He's a really great guy, and he originally published Tellus in France back when we first came out. He was one of the first champions of the book. He met us at San Diego that year and said, "I would love to produce this in Europe." And we went, okay. And he flew us over. He was just a great guy. But when this project came up, he said, I'll get some European artists for you. And he did. He came through. So there's a lot of people out of the country that, a lot of people in Mexico, a lot of people in Europe, some people over in Asia. So you have to travel around a little maybe to get everybody over there. But it would be a great bucket list.
I'm trying to process the logistics in my head right now.
Well, like, do you bring one book or do you bring both books?
I would bring both.
Well, I mean, yeah. Can you imagine, like, showing up, like, reviewing the list at a show, like, okay, I only need to bring book 1, and then you see someone like, I didn't know you were going to be here. You're in book 2. That's
It
like,
happened.
Because I would be a purist.
that's like the worst nightmare. I mean, you can't have someone in book 2 sign book 1. It's just not. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think you can. I think that's one of the things that we're trying to really get people to recognize, that the whole project just had to be put into 2 books because it just got too big. But you should be able to sign book 1 if you're in book 2, and vice versa.
So each volume is 250 pages?
The whole story is over 500 pages.
Okay.
Wow.
The first book has 200. I think the first part of the story is 237 pages, and then there's some information, sketches, and the credits and things like that.
Gotcha.
In the first book. So the first book page count is about 250. The second book's page count is going to be more than that. Will be more up by 270, 275. Ultimately, I think it's even more than that. Ultimately, you're going to get 500 pages of story and then probably some extras. I haven't counted it all out yet, and there's a couple things that are pending. Some pages that are still not finished because artists had to back out on me for book 2, the very end of book 2. So I'm waiting for them, and as I wait, I need to make sure that I count those as well.
So on on your behalf, like reading either interviews or people that talk to other creators, oftentimes one of the things that gets said is a team really starts meshing well when the writer can write specifically for their artist, or they really, know what each other wants. Were there points when you were trying to write specifically for each artist, or were you just telling the story that you would have told to Mike?
I will say that initially I was writing, and this artist would say I was writing the story and thinking that I just had to keep thinking that Mike was going to draw it, just to keep myself going and to visualize it in my head. Mm-hmm. As new artists came on, some of them said, "Oh, can I want to do 5 pages. Can we expand this scene, or can we do this?" And I let it happen, and that's why the book is so big. And part of me kicks myself like, what an idiot. Why did I let that happen? The other part is just so happy that I was able to work with so many people. So in most cases, after initially seeing that I was making a big mistake by picking and choosing who was going to draw what, it got to the point where I was just saying, okay, you're next in line. This is what you're going to do.
Okay.
And if someone said, oh, I don't want to draw, I'm not good with animals. I don't want to draw, our fox character or our tiger character or, some of the, give me something with people. Well, then I could jump around a little bit. But mostly it was, okay, here's a scene that I have hanging out. This one you would be better on this than that. So let's give you this. Because there was a lot. I would have written every time someone new came on, I had probably 4 or 5 different scenes to hand to them, based on who had gotten me layouts or whose pages were done, so that I'd have that as reference for the next person. That was the key.
The whole scale of this is just kind of blowing my mind. Like I've already, I already mentioned a moment ago just how crazy it is to get so many people, but trying to think of just keeping that all in your head and organized and okay, so this person's working on this part. I gave this part to this person. If I were in charge, 6 different artists would have gotten the same assignment, and I would have got, how did you even, get the logistics behind this?
I'm picturing an enormous flowchart.
I don't work like that. I'm very my girlfriend is an accountant, and she is very numbers. She is very black and white, and because my head's in the clouds most of the time, I can't really process numbers. Rich Woodall, our pal Rich Woodall, was the production manager who created a spreadsheet for me when I would report to him who had taken on what pages. Huh. And it was invaluable. And I adore that guy. He is just one of the nicest guys in the world.
He's a fantastic human.
Us too.
Yep, big fan of Rich Woodall.
Yeah, he's just, let's do a little party for him. So he did that, but what I was doing basically, and I'm looking at one right now, I would just take a few sheets of paper and tape them together, and on the wall just write the name of the person and then the chapter or the pages that they were working on, so that I could keep track of who got things done. I broke everything down into chapters. There are in the first book there are 38 chapters. As we jump from, since you guys aren't really familiar with Tellus, at the end of the last story, our characters went their different directions, went their separate ways, and this is where we pick them up. So through the first book is really the coming together of our heroes, old and new. We have a bunch of new characters that I think are going to be fun, plus a whole bunch of new villains. So we jump from one character to the next and find out where they are and the adventure they have while they're coming together. That's book 1. Book 2 is actually 2 parts. There is the initial confrontation with the villains, and then a final confrontation with the villains. I think that's the best way I can say it without really giving anything away. As time went on, I was making sure that each chapter was getting drawn, that each hole was being filled. If someone, I would sometimes have, I think there were, even coming up to the very end of book one, as we're putting it together, I had someone filling in pages that another artist said, I'm not going to get it done. When I started, I was giving people a pretty much open-ended deadline, and very quickly realized that won't work. I needed to set some timetable for it, and I have my niece who is good at just, she really is good at just being the traffic manager. She's like, she doesn't crack the whip because this is a charity project. We really don't have anything over anybody. You're not getting paid for it. But she was setting schedules for each person and then kind of dropping them a reminder email when that didn't happen. So I thank her too. There's lots of people to thank. I did do this on my own for probably the first 2 years, but now I really must mention that my coloring coordinator is Val Staples, who has done lots of stuff in the industry, and it's just not only a great colorist, he's a good coordinator and production guy. So he is managing all the colors that come in, contacting all the colorists, making sure that they're getting it together. And the book designer and the guy who's really making sure that everything falls into place is Tom Zoller, who is a great artist, writer, production guy, letterer. He's lettering so much for us. But he designed the book and made sure that it's really, he took Rich's production schedule and has made it into the book that you're going to be picking up and holding. Both these guys, Val and Tom, have just been so supportive and so helpful here, especially getting things together and making it really become a book. So I have to really sing their praises. They donated so much of their time, so much of their talent, and I love them.
So, if we have listeners who are not familiar with Telos, would there be like a genre or category that it would fit into?
When I pitch people a little bit, if you see any of the images online, you can kind of tell right away what it is. It's Mike and I were always into all the great fantasy stories, the books by obviously Tolkien and David Eddings and Narnia, Brian Jacques, who did the Redwall series. We love animals, and when we were talking about what would we do after we had spent so many years getting to know each other and how to tell stories together on Spider-Man, we definitely wanted to tell a fantasy story that was both fun and it's a lot of the tropes that you know from all the stories. And, every story's been told. We've all been told that before, but this was a new mix. We like the animals from Narnia and things like that. The Redwall series has a lot of talking animals and of course all Grimm's fairy tales. So it is the story of a boy in this wild patchwork world called Telos that has all different anything you can imagine. There are very different lands in this fantasy landscape. It's like a big patchwork quilt. This boy's name is Jarek, and his best friend is a tiger named Kaj, and they're mercenaries. Maybe they're thieves a little bit on the side. Jarek connects with an amulet. We've got your typical magic totem, and he's the only one who can work it. They end up teaming up with a pirate princess named Sarah, and suddenly they're off on an adventure trying to stop the bad guys who are after them, and they don't know why. So the whole the whole 10-issue series that Mike and I originally did at Image is that whole complete saga of them trying to figure out why the bad guys are after them and what everything means. And they do They end up teaming up with a pair of thieves. One is an elf and one is a fox. Rick and Hawk. I got that backwards. Rick is the fox, Hawk is the elf. Dragons and fairies and all kinds of trolls and goblins, and it's a fun, wild adventure, and it's both serious. It's got its serious moments, and it's got some lighthearted, fun moments as well. Mike and I wanted to bring the fun back to comics because things had gotten so grim in the late 80s and 90s, and still are kind of today. We wanted to have fun and be playful, and that's what the original Tell Us is all about.
That's definitely expressed in the art, like reviewing what's on the website and what I've seen from some of the artists. Like, I feel like I could, like, once I'm done reading it, I could probably hand this to my niece.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things we were really proud of. Was it was a real all ages family book. Aside from a few early shots of Sarah, the pirate captain, because that's where the industry was. She was Sarah, the pirate. I think it was in 2000 or 2001, was named the best female role model in comics.
Huh.
She beat out Mary Jane and Lois Lane that year, which was kind of cool to us. So we tried to make it an all ages book, something that's fun and that everybody can enjoy.
So the images of the wanted posters, I assume, is that the villainous forces you were talking about? When we open this story as well, our heroes are suddenly looking around and seeing that there's wanted posters of them being posted all over the land. Right. I didn't know that wasn't clear. The villains posted the posters of the characters who are wanted.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what you said, wasn't it?
That's what I meant. I don't know if that came out right.
So that's how they know that something's not right, and they're in some cases they try to ignore it. In some cases they try to investigate and find out what it is. In some cases they confront it head on. There is a darkness traveling across Tellus that is kind of leveling whole towns. There's a dark cloud cover that's covering Tellus, sweeping in from the outer lands. That's making everything dark. It's there is no day and night. There's only just this constant cloud cover. So everybody's starting to get a little hinky about it and wanting to know what's going on. And it's our villains. Our villains are trying to prepare the world so that they can take over again.
What was clever, I felt, was that these posters also, these were part of the rollout for the announcement of the series. Because I was seeing, again on Instagram, different artists that I follow posting these wanted posters. And at first I didn't think anything of it because I'm scrolling through and I see like the fox or the tiger, and then I see it again. And I was like, are they just reposting? And until I went back through after I saw the announcement, did I realize there's like 4 to 5 different artists that I follow who are all posting the same stuff, and I was like, what's going on?
Well, that was what we were trying to do. I don't know social media very well, but I do know Facebook enough. And I said to Craig, who drew all those posters, I said, I want to put out wanted posters with no connection, no information about what they are for. If people recognize the characters, then they're the Tellus readers we want to reach out to. And so we had this kind of silent secret campaign over the course of a week where each poster would be posted all over Facebook and Twitter and Facebook and people's websites, a new one each day. And it kind of raised the curiosity level. A lot of people were ready so that on Friday, when the last one came out telling what it really was, it had built up perfectly. I think we had one person complain because they were so upset. As we were talking before we started recording here, everybody wants the answers, and they want everything right now. And somebody got so angry that they didn't know what this was, and there was no way to find out what it was, that they said they were boycotting it, and they thought it was stupid. A stupid egg campaign. And I was so proud of it, and this guy was so angry. I thought, well, you can't please everybody.
You know, if you can anger an internet troll, at some point, you've done it right. You know, you've achieved a good goal.
I suppose. I think so. I think you're right.
So, as far as where people can go to find this, we mentioned that there's a little bit of a cutoff. I'm going to get this episode up. I'm going to try to get it up tonight, just as soon as possible, just because there is that that cutoff date as far as like the pre-orders go. Where can people find this? Where can people access this? As far as the new book, the tribute that's coming out, or even your previous work, where can people look to find these things?
Well, I will say that the best place to go probably is to check and see what artists have posted. That this has been posted everywhere. And it will definitely be posted this week. So if you're on Facebook, or if you know an artist on Facebook, check it out, because more than likely they'll probably be involved in this,
right.
Or just be posting it to support it. But it is, if you want to go to the website is all one word. So it's www.mikewaringo. So that's MikeWeiringo, Telos, TELLOS, tribute, TRIBUTE.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to see a lot about Mike, a lot about what's going on, a lot about the people who are involved in it. All the proceeds go to the ASPCA in Mike's name, and that's it. You can order the books. Book 1, which is due to ship the second week in June. The cutoff date for ordering is this Monday, April 10th. The cutoff date for ordering the second book is Monday, July 10th. Is that the 10th?
Okay.
Is that right? Hang on, I got to be sure I said that right. Yeah, Monday, July 10th. And that book will ship the second week in September. So the books kind of bookend your summer. And we will be celebrating them at the HeroesCon in Charlotte, the weekend of June. Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar.
It's one that I should write down, but I never have.
The weekend of June 16th, 17th, and 18th, we'll be having a party to celebrate the first book, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then in September, we'll be having a party at the Baltimore show to celebrate the second book. And the dates at the Baltimore show are September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. A lot of the artists will be at each show. Many of them are trying to do both shows, so it's going to be quite a deal. And both show organizers, Shelton Drum and Rico Renzi down at the HeroesCon, they're planning a party and making it a real Tellus weekend. And Mark Nathan and Brad Tree at the Baltimore Comic Show are also putting together some fun stuff to do. And they have a yearbook where artists contribute artwork, and even that is a Tellus theme this year. So it's going to be a Tellus summer. If people are interested in getting the original Tellus book, they can order it at their local comic shop. It's called Tellus, Tellos. The first trade is called Tellus Colossal, Volume 1. And if you can't get it at your comic shop, I think you could probably order it through Amazon. And if not there, you can order it at my website, which is www.todddezago.com. That's TODDDEZAGO.com. Now I pitched everything.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Even checking the good old Barnes and Noble. Looks like Telos is there as well.
Good. Yep.
I used to
I
work
love
for
the
Barnes
Barnes
and
and
Noble.
Noble. I love going to a bookstore.
But go check it out, everyone. Just go take a look. Like when Alex initially sent this to me, like he sent me like a description and then the link, and I clicked on the link first, and I was like, "What am I looking at?" Not quite sure, but I want to buy it because like I don't know, big tomes of literature or like comics. I'm a sucker for them, and now hearing even more about this and like how much it means to so many people, you know, and just how so many people were able to come together and just celebrate this, you know, this book and this man. You know, it's inspiring and insert other sappy words here, but it's just it's very cool to see. And Todd, I really appreciate you coming on today and taking the time to tell us about it. And you know, it sounds like he was you know, Mike was an amazing person just from your description. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it, and thanks for getting this out quick because it'll if people hear it, maybe they'll come by and support us, support the ASPCA, and get a little adventure for their money.
Yeah, and get a rad book. You know, why not?
Well, it is at 250 pages. It is the binge reading of comics.
Exactly.
So I hope maybe if you like to binge TV shows, maybe you'll sit down with a nice book.
Yeah. You don't got to stare at a screen. It's
exactly.
physically
It's more
turn the pages
rewarding,
yourself.
satisfying. Then you can put it on your bookshelf. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, in case anyone feels the need to complain about the price, I guarantee you're getting a better value than what you would get if you buy like an absolute edition from DC or an omnibus from Marvel. Like,
yeah, keep in mind this is being made like you mentioned earlier, Todd. Like this is all being made like in house. Like you're not going through a major publisher. You're not getting the assistance. You know, from
it's not being shipped by Diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted as much of the money as we could raise to go directly to the ASPCA, and that did mean, you know, cutting out some of the middlemen, some of the you know the people who do things, and nothing against them, but this way we're sure that as much of the money as we can possibly get to them will go directly to the ASPCA.
Right. Excellent. You can never go wrong with supporting animals.
No.
Todd, I got to say thanks again. It was an absolute pleasure. Hopefully, I know Alex has met you a couple times, but hopefully I'll be able to meet you too and get my my copy of Perhaps signed. But it was a total pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on the book. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see, you know, like the parties and all that. That just sounds so rad. Really appreciate you coming on. It was an absolute blast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you guys.
Thanks again. All right, so everybody, that is going to do it for us this week. Go and check out Telos. Go check out the project and support good things. So until next week, I have been JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Todd.
And this has been episode 264 of Opinions May Vary.